Good afternoon, and welcome to the fourth episode of Across the Pond. Today is a brief one, and we're just going to take a quick look at elections. We've recently had one in Britain, was a good place to start. And the best way to describe it is nothing changed much vote-wise, left to right, but the right vote split, which gave Labour a massive majority. It's the most distorted outcome in history. And when you consider first past the post is designed to distort outcomes to give a definitive result, this is really warped. So we've got 5 new reform members of parliament who've been elected probably mainly from coastal seats around East Anglia. And we've got 5 Islamic MPs who be voted for Gaza in some of these enclaves in various towns. Similar sort of thing opposite. You've got Labour with a massive majority. You've got Conservative with the lowest total ever. Conservatives about the Liberal Democrats. They're the middle-ish party. They're back up again by grifting and getting people to vote tactically. I don't see much difference between them and the other parties. Then you've got the Scottish nationalists got wiped out. Irish nationalists got hammered, Sinn Féin. The Welsh nationalists actually, who aren't really any sort of nationalists anyway, Plaid Cymru, they did quite well. Tories did bad in Wales. Tories did bad everywhere. And Labour retook Scotland. And I can't think much more to add to that, as me said, other than Farage is now trying to prepare the party to usurp the Conservatives, and he's going to spend the next 5 years attacking the Labour government from a sort of populist stroke nationalist angle, which should be entertaining because none of the other parties are doing that. And like Trump, if there's only one alternative voice, the media can't help but listen. They've done their stitch-up jobs on Farage. They got some actor down pretending to be some Alf Garnett type of blowhard, bloody immigrants, where you should shoot them in the sea, thing like that. It turned out to be an actor from central London with a posh accent who does rough accents. So they tried to stitch him up then. They've then been making accusations the other day that some of the reform candidates didn't actually exist, which is balmy because they need to be countersigned by about 8 people. So, we've had, it's a playbook of the mainstream media. Farage said something about Russia. He didn't phrase it very well, so he's in Putin's pocket. So it all looks familiar from the US election.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, they're going at him at the racist angle, even though it isn't, and but they haven't got to the sexist angle yet, because there's nobody like Rosie O'Donnell to call a pig or something like that. So so that's the state of the affairs in the UK. So.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I heard about that, or the first bit of analysis of the UK elections. It goes back to it being a bit lopsided. The ratio of votes gotten to seats held is so off that it doesn't look like any kind of a free and fair election. You get like 13% of the vote, but you've got 35% of the seats or something like that. I mean, it looked crazy. It's like I guess that goes back to the first past the post, I guess, is how that ended up being that way. I'm not sure exactly how they do precincts and things in UK, but it seemed like really disproportionate seat allotment for the amount of votes gotten.
I would say it's more of a reflection of the political system is extremely unstable at the moment. It's not the voting system, it's the parties, what they're doing or not doing behind it that are reflecting this. As I said, the Conservatives got their lowest votes forever or 200 years. in the last election 5 years ago, Labour got their lowest vote since 1920 or something. So it's massive oscillations, and they talk about that there's people who will just vote for the colour of the rosette, but there must be a really volatile and mobile floating vote in the centre. I think that's the working class, and to the extent the middle class. It's probably 10 years, 5 or 10 years behind the way America is, but because they've got the dirty media in now, all of that, it's gonna poison the culture more. So we're going to be more like America, you know. That
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I know. I see it just logging on. I think it's inevitable. It's the way the system's geared. I mean, the left have this whole lexicon of insult words for people, backed up with identity politics, and whatever you say, they're just going to look at the person you're talking about. They're going to color code them, sex them, and then insult you for it. Now, sooner or later, that sort of tactics is going to start being counterproductive. People are bored of it, or people start punching back, as in America. So that's the only way I can see it going now. But yeah, the Reform Party, which was effectively a skeleton organisation, because they called an election early to try and wrong foot them. They got 5 years to put down about 400 local election offices, etc., and get properly organised. So if Labour fail, and if the Tories still stay out near Labour on the political spectrum, you see a massive swing, possible power to reform next time. But I really don't have much else to add. I've heard a lot about potential Labour policies, not much good, but I think it's a case of just wait and see. I mean,
yeah, they haven't really delved, or at least not that I've seen. The media in the States haven't really delved into the particulars of the UK election, other than the allotment of seats per votes. And they did touch a little bit on Starmer himself. Apparently, he used to be like Corbyn was his mentor or a close friend or something, and he ended up basically throwing him under the bus for political expediency in his own career. And now he's just I guess what the American version would be is a shit lib, somebody who says, you know, we're for good things and we're against bad things, but then they govern exactly the same as all the other twats.
It's something like that. Corbyn had a reputation of hanging out with extremists and being, if not being anti-Semitic, letting it flourish because his support for Hamas and Hezbollah. There's a lot of truth in that, because anti-Semitism went rife in the Labour Party. That's one of the reasons that.
Well, was it really anti-Semitism, or was it just not letting Israel get away with whatever it wanted to? Because in America, if you're just not sufficiently sycophantic to Israel, you get labeled anti-Semitic. They call Jewish people anti-Semitic here if they're not, sufficiently supportive of Netanyahu and the apartheid and all that shit.
Yeah, there are ways to tell the difference. So, I mean, if you wanted a two-state solution, you'd be out campaigning two-state solution, not free Palestine. Because then if you'd win over a lot of people with that. They're not interested in it, in a two-state solution. So
none of them are. That's been a smoke and mirrors thing that they've used forever. I mean, for 75 years? That's just a delaying tactic while Israel gobbles up more and more and more of like the West Bank, which they've just done another major land grab in. There's only one solution, and that's one state where everybody has the same rights and privileges and responsibilities as everybody else. And I don't care what it's called, whether it's called Israel or Palestine or whatever. But the two-state solution it never has been serious. It's entirely, completely unserious. It's just a delaying tactic while they ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. So it's going to have to be a one-state solution. Anybody who starts yammering about a two-state solution is just trying to carry water for the Zionists, basically.
A two-state solution was in the Balfour Declaration and has been a part of every treaty between the PLO, Palestinians, and Israel over the years. Even Yasser Arafat, who then went and reneged on it. So, yeah, I mean, Palestine was the only area in the British Empire that didn't have it localized police force because they didn't trust them to police each other. And I get what you're saying, Israel just as bad because they're the only state like Islamic State with no clearly defined borders. And you're right, there's a land grab, but it's a bit of an impossible situation, I think. They're both playing to win, but I don't see Hamas can win without destroying Israel. And that isn't going to happen.
Well, when you say destroy Israel, no matter which side, quote unquote, wins, both of them are not going to look the same as they do today. If that's what you mean by destroy, it's no longer going to be an apartheid state. It's not going to be the Israeli or Jewish, whatever you want to call it, people subjugating the Palestinians. They're going to be equal partners in their own country.
There are Muslims in Israel who have voting rights. There are Arab MPs in the Knesset. So the idea of apartheid state only operates sort of like in Gaza and the West Bank, where they've got political.
So they've only got a little bit of apartheid. Yeah, that's like being pregnant. You either are or you're not. They've either got apartheid or they don't, and they absolutely do.
Yeah. They're apart from the genocidal people who want to genocide them. So I don't know how you describe that as apartheid. I would say it's self-preservation, but we're wandering off the British election. But yeah, that could be a serious wedge issue for Keir Starmer anyway, because he's always been trying to play both sides on that issue. French election. That's interesting because I think it's now what happened was a lot of candidates in the second round stood down, so it's a choice of National Rally or the alternative. So it was a sort of a gang up against National Rally. But I think the problem there, you have both sides, a National Rally side and the far left, right, who won't make a government with each other, and they'll never get a majority unless the centre shrinks. And if the centre shrinks for one of them to get a majority, the other one won't accept all of them. So I think France is in a democratic death spiral, I think, with chaos now because they can't form a government.
Yeah, I haven't heard much at all about that other than just the general outline that the left parties or contingents came together to form an association, affiliation, not sure what, I forget the word for that, but they came together and formed a bloc and succeeded in nudging out the more right-wing party or group.
Yeah, that's one way of expressing it. Yeah, the National Rally, which is, even though it's not the party of the Pen's father, it has enough in its constitution to get up the nose of the European Union establishment. So, yeah, same plain book there as well. Apparently, there's about 44 elections this year. We're just getting going. I think we've got one in.
No, didn't somebody try to resign and Macron rejected their resignation? I can't remember what their title was, but that shows. What's that?
I think it was the prime minister was a centrist, I think, from Macron's party. I can't remember what his French name. I think he resigned after that they got hammered after the election, after Macron called the election, and Macron wanted him back in there to try and, form an alliance with, now it seems, against
just have some continuity.
Yeah. As long it's like a lot of centrist party, they like alliances as long as they're the ones in the alliance against the other one. Some call it the tail wagging the dog. So it's the same sort of thing there. Yeah, politically craven, you could call it as well. But that's that's my take on France. I really don't have a bigger take, other than they're in the same shit we are, but they're probably further down the U-bend, around the U-bend. It's not a good way to put it, is it? And we've got the US elections to look forward to in November. Oh, the warm winter, won't it? Now Biden's found out. They're going to have to fight.
Yeah, they're desperately, frantically trying to put that cat back in the bag. They're trying to pretend like it was only an issue at the debate, and since then they're ignoring all of the other things that we've seen and heard that he's done, like going back years. And they're just that is memory hold, and they're pretending like, oh well, he had this bad night, and whatever happens after that, and that's the only thing that counts. Don't talk about anything else. So if they're successful, and I hate to say it, but a lot of Americans only get their information from like the corporate news, things like that. So it's kind of possible that they could manage to drag Biden through the election all the way to November. It's probably not going to turn out well for them, but it seems like that's what they're going to try to do, at least at this point. And they might, because Americans are freaking idiots.
I don't know. I think two people know about it. I think they'll try and ambush him in end of August with the Democrat convention.
We'll see. There's even that is complicated because I think it's the Ohio state regulations for putting somebody on the ballot, on the printed ballot. He has to be, or whoever has to be declared the official candidate by August 7th. And their convention isn't until like the 19th or even later. So they're going to have to do a Zoom meeting. I believe that's how it was even described. It was a Zoom meeting where they, quote unquote, officially declare him the candidate. And that way he can go ahead and get on the ballot in Ohio and all these other states that have their own deadlines, which makes the convention in Chicago more or less superfluous. I mean, it's just going to be, it's like eloping to Las Vegas to get married, and you come home a month later and have a big ceremony with all your friends and family and stuff. But you're already married, though. I mean, it's just for show. And that's kind of what the convention looks like it might be this time. So now they may be able to pull some kind of procedural sleight of hand and try to pull the rug out from under him at the convention, or even do it with his permission, just depending on how things go. But as far as an open convention and stuff like that, I think he's already going to be officially declared the candidate before the convention in Chicago even happens. So that's a whole nother wrinkle in that one.
Well, pulling shit is a Democrat speciality. So
Oh yeah,
I'm not. We've got Republican convention next week. I think is it the 19th or 17th? I think 2 days before is when Trump gets sentenced for that crime he committed. What was the latest one?
I'm trying to remember.
Stormy Daniels, is it? No.
I thought that one was over. This might be. It's either the January 6th stuff or I think the tax thing is over now too, isn't it? Or maybe they haven't done the sentencing. Yeah. I can't keep track of all that bullshit.
Yeah, I think it's the victimless crime, isn't it? Yeah, the tax things.
And that was completely and utterly ridiculous. I mean, there were other real estate moguls from New York that came out and said, well, if this is the way New York's going to be conducting business from now on, maybe I'll move my business somewhere else, because they could come after me next. This is something that just everybody does. You inflate the value or downplay it, depending on what kind of a deal you're trying to make. And it's just that's the way business is done, especially in real estate, especially in New York. And so to carve out a one-off where, we're just going to do this to this one guy this one time, the rest of you don't have anything to worry about, didn't seem to go over very well. I don't think they believed them.
No, I mean, if I owned real estate in New York and I was a bit of a mogul, I'd be very worried about a rival or someone I didn't like getting a political position in government with access to the Department of Justice. I would be very worried indeed. And with
exactly.
with the amount of relators, are they real estate agents or moguls? That situation is bound to occur. Is it because they've got the legal precedents now where you can go after people you don't like? It's sad. The only other thing I've heard about America, have you heard of Agenda 2025?
I've heard it mentioned, but just real briefly before we leave the convention and stuff, as far as I know, Trump still hasn't announced a VP. I don't know if he's waiting until the convention to do that or what, but that's still up in the air. I haven't even heard any likely picks or anything. It's still a big mystery as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I saw last time I looked, DJ Vance was favorite. I think that is his name, Jay Vance. I've seen him once. I don't think so. I'll stick with my choice, but I think it might be Vivek Ramaswamy, someone who gets Trump's ideas. So it's sort of a security policy in case Trump suicides himself or is suicided by Hillary.
Yeah, gets Epstein.
He gets Epstein, yeah. So, yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy would be the insurance policy, but I think the big move would be for someone like Tulsi Gabbard, or big and crazy move would be for Robert Kennedy Jr. Yeah, I can't roll any of them out because they will really turn the system on the head, which it's probably going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I think my 1 and 2 as far as who would probably be best for him would probably be Tulsi and then Vivek in that order. I think either one of those would be a pretty good fit, but I think Tulsi, just from broadening the base perspective, would probably be the most beneficial to him.
As an independent, after the end of Trump's presidency, she could stand probably on either ticket and probably take back.
I doubt she's going back to the Democrats. They screwed her over too hard, and they made it too clear that she did not have a future, especially an executive office future in that party. I'd seriously doubt she would go back. Well, unless they made her an offer she couldn't refuse, I guess.
I was reading about the other day. They even said that CNN, that files all their presidential debate clips, took us down from the page, left everyone else's up there, and talking time was very limited. So that's the sort of game CNN paid. You've heard of the Pied Piper strategy?
Oh yeah, that was Hillary Clinton employed that in 2016 or 2015 to elevate. It was Trump and somebody else. I think it might have been what's that guy from Texas? But Trump was one of the people they were trying to elevate because they thought they would be easier to beat in a general election, and turn around and bit her on the ass.
Yeah, that would probably be Ted Cruz from Texas, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. I think it was definitely getting the cameras to follow Trump around, but they haven't stopped since, have they?
Not really.
And you look at Trump, you look at Nigel Farage in the UK, you look at Xavier Milei in Argentina. They're all highly performative, aren't they? You had Farage singing Slim Shady's song on TikToks. He's now got a large percentage of the youth voting for him, and over the largest group of 16-year-olds now support Nigel Farage. You've got Trump's performative behaviour is sort of non-stop. I don't have to point that out. Well, he was, and you had Xavier Milei running around with a chainsaw. Or have you seen that ripping down departments going halfway?
I haven't.
There's plenty of performative stuff from Xavier Milei as well. I think one of the reasons is they're saying, I'm not a two-dimensional grey technocrat, which Biden is, Starmer is, Rishi Sunak is, Macron is. They're all they're all boring accountants, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
What you once upon a time call them, or variants of. Okay, Macron was working in finance, but so was Rishi Sunak. Yeah, boring technocrats like Klaus Schwab, etc.
Yeah, stuffed shirts or empty suits or that kind of thing.
Yeah. So have we covered all elections now?
Yeah, we got sidetracked from Project 2025. I didn't know if you wanted to go back to that.
Yeah, this has got some of the left spazzing out because this is Trump's plan to jail everyone on the January 6th committee and that. Well, firstly, it's not Trump's plan. This is from the Heritage Foundation, which is the think tank. So this isn't pickup truck MAGA that's thinking this up. But one of the things I was reading interesting about it is in American law, well, where it's the same as Britain, you can get arrested for obstructing the police or perjury. But in America, you've got civil rights laws that if you withhold evidence that can clear an innocent man, that's a civil rights violation. That comes from the South, where when a black man committed a crime, the police would arrest any black man because they could withhold some of the evidence, get a conviction, make themselves look good, not caring, justice or anything like that. So that's why that law exists, but it obviously doesn't just apply to blacks. And with January 6th committee withholding information, obviously these judges withholding information and the media withholding information about the Trump trials, about January the 6th, and that, you could see quite a lot of them going to prison. But the thing is, unlike the Democrat trials of Trump, which were in camera, I mean, no cameras allowed in to watch the trial, so you could see what's going on. If Trump's team decide to follow through with this from the Heritage Foundation, they will want the cameras in there because they want to see what all these people have been charged with and what information they've selectively been leaving out. That's my interpretation. Well, most of that's what I've heard or read, as well as giving my interpretation of the way it would likely go. So you could do a long list of people that could go to jail. Mark Zucker from formerly CNN, what's her name? Liz Cheney on the January 6th committee, Tom Cotton, forget who is it Schiff, who was one of the Democrats on there? Bull Schiffer.
Oh, Adam Schiff,
Yeah,
maybe.
I think, was he on the January 6th?
I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me. He seems like the type.
Yeah. Apparently, a lot of evidence has been destroyed already or gone missing, but they've still got the evidence where Trump, that wasn't widely published, that Trump said, "Go home in peace," which rather, and it's got that what the buffalo-headed chap, QAnon, got the guy.
No, the QAnon shaman. Yeah, I can't remember his real name. But
No,
he
neither.
did an interview with I think it might have been Jimmy Dore that was really informative. If you get a chance to check that out, he interviewed him personally after he got out.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. Did Tucker Carlson interview him as well? I don't know, but yeah, I'm going to look that up for Jimmy Dore. That will be worth watching. But he was on the steps with loudspeakers saying, "President Trump says, go home in peace, don't go into the Capitol, blah, blah, blah." None of this was shown by the January 6th Commission or the mainstream media.
Yeah, he was also one of the people that was basically escorted through the building. They showed him walking with security, passing other security, and it was obvious that he wasn't a problem. It's not like he was in cuffs and they were perp walking him through the hall or something. It was like they were giving him a tour.
Another thing I've heard, there was about 30 or 40 undercover FBI agents.
Oh, I'm sure there were more than that.
Yeah.
We will never know the number or which agencies were involved, but yeah, the place was lousy with feds. I'm sure of it. Starting with Ray Epps, he's either a Fed or Fed adjacent, but that boy was shady as fuck. Sorry, shady as hell.
We can't use too many F words on YouTube.
Yeah, I try not to.
Yeah, we should do a show looking at glowies, FBI. Now, what's that far right organization that's supposed to be just a Fed op? Is it Patriotic Front or something?
It was Patriot Front, Proud Boys. I can't think of all of them, but Patriot Front, I think, is the one that was supposed to have sprung up after the Charlottesville march demonstration, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people have thought that was kind of shady.
Yeah, I read someone on Twitter the other day saying, "Well, hang on, these are a load of right-wing guys who are color coordinating their clothes. There's no beer guts or anything. You're telling me they're not feds?" But there was another clip on the other day of them getting their shit pushed in by the Proud Boys because they don't like them much because they are billed as neo-Nazi. And there's another article, this was on Zero Hedge, I might look it up, about that Robert Mueller, when he was director of the FBI, was setting up all these honeypots to catch far-right people. In effect, they were nothing more than entrapment schemes, but the marches they held and everything else led to even more people joining up with the far right, which was sort of like counterproductive and probably not what they were supposed to be doing in the first place. I'm having a quick look. It's got had some operational name at the turn of the century, so 25 years ago. I'm having a look. I don't know if you've heard of that. Have you?
I mean, I'm aware that they do things like that, and it's not just the right. They do that for everybody always. I mean, a lot of these so-called terrorist plots that they say they caught and busted them up before they could have a chance to actually do anything. Well, if you dig into it, it turns out a lot of these people are just like disaffected, maybe not even particularly mentally stable. And then a Fed gets, joins the chat or whatever and nudges and provokes and suggests. And then they basically entrap them. The whole scheme is the FBI's idea. The FBI provides the fake bomb materials and the instructions on how to put it together, and then at the last minute they step in and say, "Freeze! Caught you, you terrorist!" But they set the whole thing up, and it's just it's a way for them to improve their public image, I guess you could say, and justify the ridiculous amounts of money that get thrown at them.
Yeah, I can't find it, but there was an article on Zero Hedge about it. It had some specific name, Operation Primitive or something like that, Primitive or something. By
yeah, I don't remember the names of the specific things they've done. There have been so many.
Yeah. There was one was a march organised in 2008 that was set up by an FBI asset and a load of other FBI assets, where eventually they went after the wrong people or something or other. There's a scandal about that. Then there was the one to kidnap the governor of Michigan,
Whitmer.
Yeah, that was an FBI set up. Said to some rednecks down the bar, "Do you want to get Whitmer?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's get the old cow." And that. And suddenly they're up on terrorist charges, claiming that they were one of these right-wing, far-right organisations. That was, there's been quite a few of those. I'm surprised there hasn't been a documentary on it in the UK, at least. There's enough.
Yeah, I think there may have been a couple here. I would be surprised if the Gray Zone or somebody like that hasn't covered some of this stuff. Yeah, it may have been a while back because, like I said, they've been doing this stuff like forever. So you could probably easily find some historical documentaries about their previous excursions into setting people up. But I don't know about the recent ones.
Yeah, Grey Zone is the sort of left-wing version of Zero Hedge, isn't it?
Well, I don't think they consider themselves any wing. They just they report the truth, and whether it ends up being favorable for this side or that side, they don't really care. It's the facts, just the facts. At least that's the impression that I've gotten. They do a lot of their own investigative reporting. It's not like somebody said and then somebody else heard them and then somebody else brought it to them and said, well, allegedly this person said something. They go on the ground and do their own investigating and stuff like that. And they're as far as I can tell, they're really reliable as far as the facts and the underlying documentation and proof and things.
Yeah, Zero Hedge, they do the flip side of that. They allow people to post or write articles under pseudonyms or anonymously, usually Tyler Durden, and so they're effectively whistleblowers. So their anonymity allows them to speak, but stops them getting fired or arrested or something like that.
Or dragged in front of Congress, like they have done for Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal and those people at the Gray Zone. There for a while, it seemed like every other week Congress was dragging them in there to have them testify about something. So I guess in certain circumstances, writing stuff under a pseudonym might be the way to go. It'll keep you out of Congress for nothing else.
Yeah, or being bugged on the DHS no-fly list.
Yeah.
shall we call it a day now here? Right. Thanks for
Could do.
watching.
Yeah, it's been about that long, hasn't it?
Yep. See you next week, maybe, and hopefully we'll have our first guest or second guest by then.
Cool.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. Bye.
See y'all.
Bye.